Back here on our Coach's Spotlight, talking with Coach Ricky Holliday. Coach, you are going into, I guess, the same number of years as Coach Carter, right? Is this year 6, 7, 2019?
6, I'd say, because this is
what his third. Might be 7.
7. This is his third year being a head coach, right?
Yeah, I guess. We need
7.
to read the bio. Yeah, it is 7. We need to read the coach's bio. You know, one thing I was thinking about, Coach Holliday's our co-defensive coordinator and defensive line coach, and one thing I was thinking about with you is kind of that that long tenured relationship you've had with Coach Carter. You've been with him longer than anybody else on the coaching staff, dating back to your days at Pepperell, coaching with him. Kind of talk about your bond with Coach Carter and why you've stuck with him all these years.
Well, like I said, when I was DC at Pepperell, he was quarterback coach, and we hit it off as really as kids. I hit off with more than I did him. First off, especially a little bit.
I'm sure he'd be fine with that,
especially a little bit. But nah, he's Coach Carter. He's to me, he's black or white. If that makes sense, It's wrong or it's right, and he's easy to get along with, and we get along really well, and I can get, because I'm kind of an emotional individual, so he knows how to take it. If I get ill and say something out there in the heat of the battle, he don't take it personally. He knows how it is.
So you're saying Coach Carter's more level-headed than you?
Just a little bit. I am an emotional. I played emotional, I coach emotional, but yeah, he's easy to get along with, and he's good to work with, and easy to talk. If you have suggestions, he'll take them in stride, and I've worked with a lot. This is my, 23rd year coaching? Yeah, I've been coaching a long time, and I've worked with a lot of coaches, and I've worked with a lot of what I call micromanagers.
Yeah.
And, I've been a DC for probably 16 years out of the 23, and a head coach for 6. I mean, and I've worked with a lot of guys that like to micromanage, and I don't like micromanaging when I was a head coach, and I don't micromanage as a defensive coordinator. If my outside linebacker coach has suggestions, I take it in stride, and that's what Drew does. He does a really good job of taking suggestions, because he doesn't have as many years in, but he does with his decision making. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And he'll take suggestions, and we work well together because we get along in a lot of aspects. We have the same mentality that it's white or black, it's wrong or it's right. If this doesn't make sense to do, this is not good for the kids, we don't do it. And I really enjoy working with somebody that does that and does not micromanage.
Let's talk about your defensive line this year. Last year they were among a group that set a team school record for tackles for loss. It wound up being, I think it was 51.5 tackles for loss. You had Jackson Lowry, who broke the career record and single-season record for tackles for loss with 12.5. Now he's up to 16.5 for career total. Chevy was all-region second-team defense. Colby was 4th in the region in sacks. I mean, you can kind of just list out the accolades there. They are extremely talented, and probably the biggest strength of this team going into this year. That's got to be really exciting for you.
It is, and we've been to some contact camps, and other coaches say, who coaches D-line? I mean, I do the D-line, but look, these cats have been through with me for 3 years, and they've been beat to death fundamentally, technique, step. Now it's got to the point with for instance, the other day, Jackson Lowry, we were in a contact camp, and he did something. I said, "What'd you do wrong?" He said, "I got upfield too much," and he said, "I didn't rip." Well, they have been through it so much that practice is easy for me when we go individual, because they understand technique, they understand leverage, they understand which way to step, what their 1-2 read is, and it's really a blessing to have cats that have been through it for 3 years in a row. And we've got one guy that's back this year that not been really talked about, Luke Turner. I mean, yes, Jackson, Kobe, Chevy, really, really good players, going to be really, I expect big things. But we've got a guy move back in, Luke Turner, spent a season at Tennessee last year. Luke's what, 6'1", 6'2"?
Yeah, he's a big boy.
And I'm playing him at Mike linebacker as a backup Mike linebacker. But when I need a rotation, I can put Jackson at nose or give Chevy a break, and I can put Luke in. He can play with his hand on the ground as well. So I've really got 4 guys right now that I'm really comfortable in throwing them in, especially those front 3 you just suggested, and it is exciting to have those 3. But Chevy also plays offensive line, so he's going to have a break. And it's great to have a kid at Luke Turner size. He runs like a deer, big old boy, can play Mike linebacker, and he can put his hand on the ground.
Yeah, that's nice to have that versatility, especially in a 3-4. You got a lot of different personnel adjustments that you make. Luke left about halfway through the season last year, and
actually played 5 games at North City, and he got to play against some 5A competition in Tennessee, which is
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's athletic if they can go back and forth between playing linebacker and being down on the line of scrimmage.
And he's a smart kid, and he's a straight A student just about anyway.
You talked about, obviously, we know the names that we just talked about, and you mentioned Luke Turner. What about some of the younger guys coming up that you've been developing? Do you feel like there's a lot of depth at the position? At the defensive line position?
Defensive line position, that's going to be an issue this year. We have a lot of kids come up that were offensive linemen, and in the 3-4. I mean, today's we don't have 6'3", 290 kids.
Yeah.
I've coached every defense. You can't reinvent the wheel. So that's what's good about the 3-4 is I can take an undersized kid and slant him and move him, and he doesn't have to be 290 pounds and 6'3".
Yeah.
I started in college, and I'm barely 6 foot tall, but it was a system that I slanted and moved because I run pretty well. So I think our system is made for kids that are undersized. I mean, my guys right now are undersized, but the young ones coming up are undersized, and there's 1 or 2 kids right now that will be able to spot play. But as far as understanding leverage and the system and strong enough, we're a little bit thin right now.
Still got a lot of development.
Still a lot of development to do, and my wife says I say it every year. Oh, we're terrible at fun. I can't get it to go. And I'm that way. It is what it is. My wife
it goes back to the emotional thing.
She's been a coach's wife for 16 years, so if it wasn't for her, I don't know if I'd be still sane. But she says you say it every year. But she said you always end up developing a kid or two that's a mainstay, and that's true. But this group that we got now is really special. I mean, I've been a lot of places. I've coached 6A ball, 4A ball, Tennessee, Georgia. They have a chance to be as good as anything I've coached because they're coachable. I mean, like I said, when I was at Pepperell's DC, my guys averaged 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah. But
right now I wouldn't trade any of those for these 3 or 4 guys I've got right now. Just the fact is they have been through the system. They understand what they're expected, and they can run. In this defensive line, if you're defensive lineman, you can run this system. You make it rough on an opposing offense because everything's gap control. So I put them where they need to be, and they squeeze and funnel everything. It makes it a little easier on my Mike and Will linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, and you got obviously we know Chevy starts on the offensive line, but you got Jackson and Colby now kind of getting some spot play on offense.
Yes, you got one. Colby's playing a little
big
sniffer.
number 22 now. I'm trying to come up with a nickname for Colby this year, playing fullback. I was thinking like Double Deuce or something like that.
He gets a hard time giving to him out there, too. And you can tell he's new at it because the other day he was at, I call it sniffer. Coach Carter hates it being called sniffer. That's the reason I do it, to be honest with you. It's the H-back?
Yeah, or fullback,
Fullback. And Kobe's new, I can tell. I said every time he lines down, he's pointing and looking. I start yelling out to play. So he's going to do a good job. I believe he's going to really help us on short yardage with him.
Oh, yeah.
Sniffer, Coach Carter.
Jumbo package there. But talk with Coach Ricky Holliday in our Coach's Spotlight, defensive line coach, co-defensive coordinator. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Hey, no problem. Appreciate it.